What's going on, everyone? Welcome to yet another episode of the Schoch Factor Podcast, where this week I am joined by the one and only Johnny Hummel, the closing pitcher from the University of Kentucky. And let me tell you, Johnny has had one of the most exciting collegiate careers to follow. He started off back in 2019 at Erskine, where he was a member of the fleet, and he started his collegiate career as a catcher. And he thought, you know what? I'm just going to catch. We'll find a way. Eventually, he found his way to the mound, and that's where his collegiate career really truly began. But Johnny has had an awesome story from making it from a Division III school all the way to playing at Kentucky. And, he's one of these guys where he's an older guy in college baseball, but he's one of the people that I almost crossed paths with in my collegiate career because back in the day when I was transferring from App State, I was looking at my options, and one option was transferring to UMBC and sitting out for a year, which I did. But the other option I was heavily considering was actually transferring to Erskine, where I could play immediately. And I would have played my final 3 years of college baseball, graduating in 2019. So we would have overlapped there, which is actually kind of cool to think about. And, just a way to make me feel less old and less washed up. So I definitely appreciate Johnny for that. But also, he's just got an amazing perspective on the game. This Kentucky team has been extremely fun to watch this season. And, he's been a big factor in that. He brings a lot of energy and a lot of fun times with him. But I'll just let you hear from the man himself. So we're going to take a quick break to hear from one of our sponsors. And when we're back, we'll be back with Kentucky's Johnny Hummel. Have you heard of the 2025 Soldier Tank BB Core baseball bat by Soldier Sports? This isn't just any bat, it's lighter and hotter than any of its predecessors. This is thanks to its infused alloy technology that allows an ultra big, ultra hot sweet spot. Crafted from over 2.5 years of research and development, the Soldier Tank is the perfect blend of speed and power. Designed for both power and contact hitters, it features a formula for success. Speed times mass times impact equals extreme power. I've seen it swung. Even the mishits have juice with the Soldier Tank. The bat is priced at an incredible $311, which is well worth it, in my opinion, to be swinging the top scoring BB Core bat ever. They're selling out fast though, so head over to soldiersports.us to secure yours today. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to yet another episode of the Schoch Factor Podcast, where this week we have probably our fastest guest ever, Lightning McQueen / Johnny Hummel from Kentucky. Of course, we can't get down with Lightning McQueen. Owen Wilson declined the interview. But the next closest thing, college baseball's best version of it, Johnny Hummel is here. So, Johnny, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. Can't complain. Just living life.
Love to hear it. And it's a good life you're living now. Of course, you are at Kentucky. You're playing in the SEC. And we'll get into all that. And of course, you might be wondering, hey, why did I tune into this college baseball podcast? I'm hearing about Lightning McQueen. That we'll get into as well. But if you know who I am and anything about me, you should be expecting things like that. But Johnny has, before he emerged as the closing pitcher / race car that we know today, and we love today in the college baseball world, you started your college career off at Erskine, where you were listed as a catcher. And of course, have to get recruited to do that. So what was your recruiting process like getting to Erskine?
Honestly, I was always a little kid growing up. I was always like 5'8", $150 maybe. So like in high school, I was a smaller person, and being a catcher at that point, they wanted to have some bigger guys behind the dish. So like I didn't really have any offers. I didn't get my first offer, or my only offer was Erskine, and that was my senior fall of high school, and finally found somewhere to play. I just wanted to play somewhere, and they went down there to play like a tournament series for travel ball in the fall, and contacted me after the fact, after that little tournament, and that I took it because I just want to keep playing. So I mean, out of high school, that's the only offer I had, and went to Erskine as a catcher.
Yeah, so you joined the fleet as a catcher. And while you're there, were you two-weighing at the time, or were you just always behind the dish? Were you toying with the idea of pitching at all?
No, I never toyed around with the idea of pitching until like sophomore year. So my freshman year, like in high school, of course I pitched because you just get some to pitch in high school. So at time high school, but like I was always full blown catcher. Like that's all I wanted to do. That's all I loved. And so my freshman year, I was just behind the dish for all the fall. And of course, we had some older guys that were better than me. And so I took that redshirt year and got that back. And then my sophomore year, I still wanted to catch. And all fall, I went through catching. And then we get around a quarter of the way through the season, my sophomore year. And I just wanted to find a way to help the team. And I wasn't seeing playing time behind the plate. I think I had one at bat that whole entire spring. And I went to our coach's office and I was like, hey, like, let me try to pitch. Like, I want to help the team at some point. I know I can pitch. So the next day I do a live AB. Not even throwing a pin before that, just throw me out in a live AB. Did good during a live AB. I actually faced my roommate at that time, and he ended up being my catcher after the fact. So I just did that, and then a couple of days later, we had an inter squad. I threw in the inter squad, did good, and then a week later, I'm out there playing in the game. So I mean, that's just kind of how it went. And then I just stuck with pitching the remainder of the year, and then obviously, sadly, COVID hit probably a week later. So I didn't really get to pitch that much sophomore year. And then I still didn't toy around with pitching until like all of junior year. I caught in the fall. I didn't want to pitch. And then they're like, hey, let's just pitch in the spring. And I mean, I didn't really start becoming a pitcher only, a PO until last year at Erskine. Because even my fourth year at Erskine, I caught all fall. I didn't pitch one bit in the fall. And so, I mean, and then ended up just pitching. And then my last year was my full-blown year that I just said, I'll just pitch.
Yeah. So how much better did you feel in the fall when it was just, okay, I'm just going to pitch compared to the falls where you're like, look, I'm going to catch. I'll do that all fall and work on that. Like, I can't imagine the relief your knees must have felt.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of work. And I mean, there was times where I would catch a little bit during an inter squad, and then where I'd catch like all the inter squad, and we ran out of a pitcher one time, and I just went out there and threw right after catching 8 innings. So I mean, it was a big relief that last year where I could just literally focus on pitching, and it was probably one of the best decisions I made, because without that, I don't think I'd be where I'm at now. So it was a huge relief, and it was a lot of like weight like lifted off my shoulders just to be able to fully concentrate on one thing.
Sure, definitely. And now you said the first batter you faced was your roommate. Did you know going into it was going to be your roommate? Like, did you guys wake up that morning and you go, hey, look, I'm going to pitch today. I'm a pitcher now, and it's not going to go well for you.
Yeah, we knew that day that I was pitching against him. And the funny thing about that is, like, I haven't thrown off a mound forever, since high school, basically. And I go out there for my first live AB against him, and I was throwing like in the bullpen right before I go out. I was throwing in like the one pitch that works really well for me is my breaking ball, and it wasn't working one bit in the bullpen. I was like, this is bad. So I tell him right before, I'm like, dude, like my breaking ball's not working. You're probably gonna do good. Sadly, I go out there and all of a sudden it starts working, and I ended up striking him out on like 2 or 3 curveballs, and he was just so confused for a second. So it was pretty funny. It was a funny little like experience that we had, but we can go back and laugh at it now.
Yeah, I mean, looking back at it now, it's got to be hilarious. Like thinking, like, look, it's not that bad, because even in the SEC, people are struggling with this breaking ball at the plate. So we're totally fine. And like, if I'm your roommate, I'm like, hey, I'm that origin story. I'm involved. I'm featured. I'm like DJ Khaled on any song. We'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one thing I love about the Erskine website is when it goes through your career, it starts off your freshman year, freshman catcher in 20 and the year, and then sophomore year, sophomore catcher. Then it goes, you time travel because COVID happened. You get to time travel, and it puts you as a redshirt freshman for your next season, which I love to see, because of course you had the red shirt and then the free red shirt. And I just think that's so funny. But so it seems like that year is when you really cemented yourself as a pitcher, like just throughout the season. And then in the fall, you were just like, hey, look, I'm going to go back to helping the team behind the dish.
Yeah.
And And that first time transitioning, was there thought like in the fall while you're going through all the catcher's work, like, hey, I'm still going to pitch this spring? Or was it just off your radar, but the coaches were like, hey, look, this worked. We're going to keep rolling with you.
I knew I was still going to pitch in the spring. Like I knew I was
Okay.
still going to do. Just catching was just something that I love to do. I absolutely love doing it. So much fun. Um, there's times where we're doing blocking drills here, and I'm a pitcher and I'm watching. I'm like, oh, I would love to go back there and do that because it was just fun. It was so fun for me to do that and be be a part of the game 24/7. So I mean, that was just one thing that I love. So I always just wanted to keep doing it, and it was working. I was having good years at Erskine, even just catching in the fall. So I was like,
Yeah.
we'll just keep doing it.
Might as well. And then one last thing I noticed about that year on the website, your weight went from 155 to 180. And I am no one to body shame. I
Yeah.
will be the last person to do that. Was that you were focusing more on putting on weight, or was it just something like, hey, they finally updated the roster?
No, I was fully going into like that summer. I was going to I lifted 5 times a week. I ate so much food. I had so much protein shakes because I wanted to go back and try to catch again and keep catching. And I know I needed to put on weight. I know I needed to grow into my body a lot more. And I think I was just like a late bloomer with like really maturing with my body muscle wise. So like that whole entire summer just kind of took off, and I really like dedicated myself on trying to get as big as I can and as strong as I can. So that was the big weight jump that I had.
Definitely. Well, I'm happy it was a good weight jump and by plan, because not many guys can do that. I know it's something I saw guys struggle with throughout my college career, was like these guys are a little bit smaller and they're trying to put on weight. So what piece of advice would you have to like a high schooler who's in that position where they're trying to get bigger, or even maybe just a washed up podcaster who's trying not to look like a joke by the pool?
I mean, all I did was I didn't even think about trying to make my body look good. I thought about trying to put as much weight on as I could. So every morning I would have a protein shake and I'd put half a jar of peanut butter in it with, yeah, like my family was running through peanut butter left and right. We had the big jugs of Jif, and like I would literally put 4 scoops, like big scoops in there with chocolate milk. I would buy the Fairlife chocolate milk and add chocolate.
Oh,
So I just have 2 of them every single day. I'd have one in the morning and one right before I fall asleep. And that's what really helped me put on a lot of weight, that much peanut butter and protein.
yeah, that sounds like a good plan to me. Have you ever tried the powdered peanut butter? You ever
I've
seen
not.
that?
Well,
I
wait,
I
the
I have
Nesquik?
some in my pantry. It's just like, I don't even know what brand it is. It's just like you scoop it and add water to it and it turns into peanut butter. I kind of like it because I feel like a magician, but you also get a lot more peanut butter this way because you're cutting out the liquid part. So
Yeah.
that's a little pro tip if you're ever out there and you're like, hey, I want a large quantity of peanut butter, don't know how to acquire it. That's the secret. Sorry, I just wanted to know if you'd tried it, because that sounds like something that would be right up your alley. If I could make one professional recommendation, I would say it's like $8, nothing too crazy for a big old jar powdered peanut butter. This podcast isn't sponsored by them, but now I'm thinking about peanut butter and it's all I can think about right now.
I haven't had lunch yet. I had a little snack before this, but I need to get some. I'll probably go to Chipotle after this and get a big old burrito. So talking about
Yeah,
peanut butter makes.
if you're lucky with Chipotle these days, it's just they've taken a turn. They really have. Uh, it's a shame. But now you put up these really good numbers at Erskine, getting back into the baseball part of it, and you get this opportunity over summer to transfer to Kentucky. You'd use
Yeah.
I don't know if you enter the transfer portal officially because you're grad transferring, but what was that process like for you?
I have a really unique story with that process. Is like I entered the portal August of my senior year, or I can't even like say senior year because that was my 5th year.
Yeah,
Um,
the last one.
the last one, it all goes like it's all mushed together. So my last year at Erskine, I entered the portal in August, like a week after school started, because I was able to, since I was a grad student, I was graduating, I didn't have to like sit out, and so I entered it, and I think it was like the next day, or maybe even that day. I get done with practice, and I'm walking with one of my buddies, and I look at my emails, and the first email I ever got was from here, and
Wow.
I stopped. I stopped dead in my tracks. I'm walking. I can remember the day, like the baseball field's to the right, the gym's to the left. I'm walking up the hill going to my car, and I stop right there. I look. I'm just like looking at my phone. I'm like, there's. I turn and I'm like, dude, there's absolutely no way. Like I didn't think anything. Like I was like, no way. And so I email him back. A couple days go by, they email me back asking for like videos and stuff, and send them some of the videos I have. Probably like a week after they saw the videos, I got a phone call from Coach Roselle, and just having a conversation, just how the recruiting process goes, normal little conversations. And then Coach Minge calls me a couple days after that. We have a conversation with him. And then week after that, I'm on a Zoom call with him, and he's showing me like the PowerPoints and like all that about Kentucky baseball and the University of Kentucky. My parents are on that Zoom call also with me, and he offers me at the end of the Zoom call. And so around 2-3 weeks after I entered the portal, I was already offered by Kentucky, and there wasn't a doubt in my mind that I was going to let that go by. I right then and there I said yes. I was like, I don't want to look for anything else. I don't want to be a part of anything else. I just want to be a part of Kentucky. And like I said, it was the best decision I ever made in my life. So, I mean, that was my whole recruiting process. I don't have stories of how many schools are contacting me because I was out of it right away. And I knew I wanted to go. I mean, that's how it happened. So I played that whole last year at Erskine knowing that I was coming here. And, that did put some stress on me a little bit. At the beginning of the year, I was like, I got to make sure I do good, blah, 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 blah. And I got rid of that stress within probably like 2 weeks. 2 weeks into the season, I was gone with it. And I just did what I used to always know how to do. And I had a good year. And in July, I was back up here.
That's honestly an awesome process. I know my experience with Zoom was mostly like, hey, you're going to come to class and that's where we're going to educate you. I am so happy for you that you have a more positive connotation with the application of Zoom. But I got to know, was it a Zoom premium call, or was it like, hey, timer's running out in the top left corner. We're going to offer you here. You're on the clock counting down. Obviously I'm kidding, but I think if I'm recruiting, that's what I'm doing. That way, we have that little moment, that pressure of like the suspense of it. I think is really cool. And so it sounds like obviously completely different from the high school recruiting process.
Yeah, way completely different, because I mean, I don't even want to say I wasn't wanted out of high school, but it almost felt like I wasn't. Where there was times my early senior year, I was flustered. I was scared. I was like, maybe I won't be playing baseball anymore. So like, it was completely different. Then once I get to the portal, that day I get an email. So it was definitely a crazy different experience, and it was a fun one to be in.
Yeah, and it ends up working well. And you talked about playing with that stress of like playing for one school, but knowing next year it's like, hey, I'm going to be competing for someone else. I was right there with you. That was my last year at UMBC, which I think was my fifth one. Still not entirely sure. It was kind of a blur. But what would you say helped you get rid of that stress on the mound?
It was mainly just at the beginning, I had that in my head. I was like, okay, I need to do like I said, I need to do good for this next school. And I realized like, hey, like don't even worry about that at that time. Like you're here for a reason right now. And I fully committed myself to doing whatever I could for Erskine, doing whatever I could for them. It's my last year. I want to give everything I got for that year. And I'll worry about Kentucky when it comes. So like that's what really helped me, like just not even thinking about what I'm doing, maybe even playing like it's my last year I'm ever playing. That's exactly what I'm doing now. Like this is my last year of college baseball. And like the kind of like it's almost like you switch a knot, like a switch gets put in your head, and you're like, this is it, and I got to do everything I can, because I might not ever play ever again after this year. So that's what I did at Erskine. I was like, this is like my final year at Erskine. I'm going to do it for my school and for my teammates, and that's what really just put me over the top of not having that stress anymore.
Well, that's awesome. It definitely worked out. The numbers worked out well, and now you have made a smooth transition to Kentucky. But obviously there are going to be some differences between Kentucky and Erskine. What would you say, though, is similar between the two? Is there anything where you're like, you know what? I playing college baseball here and playing college baseball there, not that different in this aspect.
The family, how the team works. That's one of my biggest reasons why I came here, is because how Coach Minge like works this team and how he manages this team and his philosophy on family first type of vibe. I mean, that's how my old coach did it at Erskine, and that was like my number one thing. So like those two things were completely identical, and it's by far like one of the best things to have for a college experience, is to have like a family type of team.
Definitely. And I feel like that's why I like college baseball so much, is because no matter like where you go, the good teams, the teams that are having fun, they're always kind of on that same wavelength of like, look,
Yeah.
this is important to us, but we're going to have fun while we do it too. And it looks like at Kentucky, you guys are having an absolute blast every game. What would you say? Where does that come from? Why is it happening? Like, why is everyone so happy? Other than, of course, winning a bunch of baseball games.
Everybody's just so happy to be like with each other and competing with each other. Even people that haven't been seeing playing time that much are still like fully into it, because they still just love being with each other, because everything that we've been through in the fall and early spring, like we were all competing against each other, but like that's, you learn to love each other through competition. And so that's how we just keep having fun. And like, I mean, it's not even like, you can call it fake energy, you can call it like fake fun, but it's absolutely not fake fun at all. We absolutely like, it's, I've never been a part of something like this, and the amount of fun that we have while playing baseball, it just helps us play really loose, and it obviously helps I'm a huge fan of, or huge like, I'm big on momentum in the game of
Mm-hmm.
baseball, and if you have the momentum, then you're gonna more than likely win that game. And so having a dugout that has fun like that and cheers that hard for maybe a foul ball, because that's what we do. A two-strike foul ball, our dugout goes crazy. And so, like, if you create that kind of momentum, I believe that more than likely baseball will go your way. So, I mean, having that is just unreal, and it's all genuine. It's all genuine fun, genuine love for each other, and genuine love for the game.
Absolutely. And as a closing pitcher, like when you get that momentum on your side, when you get in the groove where the umpire, like, I'm sure I never play with the pitch clock, but you're someone who I know you operate quick, you operate within those time frames. And it feels like when that momentum's behind you and you're working fast from the pitch clock, the umpire just wants to say strike from time to time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's, I mean, having that cheer from the stand or the dugout and while you're on the mound, like usually like you always say, oh, could you hear me say this, could you hear me say that? You're like, no, I was locked in. But there's times where like you do hear them
Oh,
cheer for
yeah.
you, and that just helps you so much more, and it just makes everything just go down a notch and makes it so much easier to play for each other. And obviously with, I mean, the defense that we have, it's quite easy to pitch behind the
Yeah.
guys
It,
behind.
it's definitely, hey, let's pitch to contact here. That's going to work out well for us. Now, shifting gears a little bit, well, shifting gears quite a bit.
Yeah.
You walk out to Cheryl Crow's Real Gone, and you have an edit of Lightning McQueen going on the video board, is my understanding. Where
Uh-huh.
does this come from? What is the origin story of the Johnny Hummel Lightning McQueen? I do we call it symbiosis because you both get better from it? I don't know. The mutualism between the two of you.
It, it all started, I guess you could say this is like the origin story of it. A couple years ago, like obviously I love the movie Cars.
Good
That's
man.
why
Good man.
it's my but like the origin story is like I've always posted on my Instagram stories a couple years ago. I would, anytime I see like a cool Cars edit, and like there's so many like edits out there that are just kind of like cool. They do like the high definition, and like I would post something
Oh,
where they put like a over a clip, and I'll post in my story, and I just enjoy seeing those clips. So then, like, whenever I came here, um, obviously I needed to find a walkout song. It took me a couple months to find a walkout song, and I found one. And it was a Foo Fighters song. Heard that a couple of times when I ran out in the early season, and it wasn't fitting for me. It wasn't fitting for our dugout. Our dugout wasn't really getting into it. I remember there was one night I was up till 3 a.m. with headphones on, trying to find a song because I'm so like it has to be good. Like I go off of, and it sounded great over headphones, and I was like, I'm gonna do this song. No, wasn't working. Go back to the drawing board. That night, I get in bed, and obviously it's hard. There's so many movie options and so many show options out there.
It's impossible.
But it's so hard. It's possible to find something that you want to watch. And so I was like, I was just going to go on Disney Plus. Go on Disney Plus, and Cars is one that pops up. I'm gonna watch that. Haven't seen it in a little bit. Intro comes on, and it just clicks. I hear it, and I'm like, this is really good. I like, because I wanted something to get the crowd into it also. And I was like, this clicks. I love it. Next day, I go and tell some of my teammates about it. They're like, yes, you should do it. Like, that's perfect. Hit up our audio guy, marketing guy, and they put that song in. A couple of days go by, a couple of weeks go by, come in and pitch at home, and that song comes on, and the dugout absolutely erupts. And ever since then, we've just rolled with it.
Yeah, it's like, hey, look, Lightning McQueen, Sheryl Crow brings the juice. Everybody knows that. We're going to get going. And I feel like as a closing pitcher, like the telltale sign of a good closing pitcher, like if I am watching a home team bring in a closing pitcher and the walkout is not good, it's like, well, this is not going to go well. If they have a good walkout, I'm like, okay, I'm rooting for this kid. It's going to typically go well. And this, like, you chose selflessly. You were like, hey, I like this song, sure. But what is my dugout going to like more, like the Foo Fighters song or Lightning McQueen? And I think we got our answer. I think America has found out. So had you had other walkout songs in the past other than the Foo Fighters, other than Sheryl Crow, or was this kind of just like, this is the one?
No, of course I had other ones, which made I had 3 other ones from my past 3 years, and that's what made it so difficult this year, because one, at a heightened level of play, I'm actually going to play in front of people because I would only get around 100 kids, 100 people at our games at our. So now I'm playing in front of 6 to 10,000. So I'm like, okay, well, I wanted something for that, and that's what made it so difficult. But I had my family's from Pittsburgh, so I did "Renegade" by Styx for my first year of ever pitching, and that was just that was 3 years ago, and I loved it, and I wanted to do it again. But I'm also huge, like, I don't want to do anything that somebody's done before and made a name for it. And Bednar from the Pirates last year, and like that's his, so like I can't do that. I did do a Metallica song. It wasn't any of their cliche songs. I'm very against cliche songs. So I did a Metallica song. It also did I can't remember my other third one that I did, but it was another like hard rock song. I was always into the hard rock for a closer. And I had songs like that, and this is completely different. But I absolutely love it.
Opposite end of this. Look, you throw on a 90s classic rock playlist, there might be a Sheryl Crow song in that, or 90s hits, I think is what I actually end up on. That's where I find most of my Sheryl Crow music. Every Day is a Winding Road, terrible closer walkout song, because you don't want a winding road. You want the straight path to victory. But I'm right there with you. Now, have you seen the entire Cars franchise, or are you just like Cars 1 or just Cars is the one? Like, we don't need any others.
I've seen all 3.
Okay. What do you I think one of my hottest takes in life is the fact that I don't think Cars 2 is that bad. You know, it's not great. Don't get me wrong. Completely goes off the franchise. Like, why are they secret agents? But Mater's trying his best. You know, I think that it gets a bad rap for itself. But I gotta know, you've seen them all. Which is your favorite Cars movie?
Hands down, the first one. There's nothing that beats Radiator Spring. Like, you can't beat that. I'm with you. The second one's not bad. I don't mind the second one bit. The third one is where it gets a little iffy, but I mean, the second one is, I mean, it's not bad at all. There's just nothing's going to top that first one.
Yeah, it's like you started at the peak. It's very similar to the Hangover franchise if you've seen it, you know.
Yeah.
And I in this vein, we've covered a lot of topics. So I want to close it out with, what is your favorite movie? And it does not
Oh,
have to be Cars, because look, I am a gentleman who, I talked about Dippin' Dots, and that's what made my name for myself. I never even really said I liked them that much. I just kind of said someone offered them. Everybody's just like, oh, it's Dippin' Dots guy, you know. So I got stuck with it. I don't know if Cars is your favorite movie, and I don't want to pin it on you. I will say
no.
it's not a bad movie to have as a favorite.
Yeah. Um, Obviously Cars is a go-to movie for me at times,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not like I'm sit there and play it 4 times a month, 2 times a month. I'm not a huge like movie person though. Like I don't like being inside that much, but like, and it just depends on what kind of like, obviously like a sports movie
Mm-hmm.
is one of the top ones. I'm a huge hockey fan. So
Okay.
Miracle is really good for me. There's just something about that movie that's unreal. And so I think that's, if I were to like scroll on TV and I saw the movie Miracle on there, I would 100% click on it. Um, so like I guess you could say Miracle, it might be my favorite, but it's just, I can't like pinpoint one because I also love The Hangover, and it just depends on what kind of mood. Like The Hangover, I love The Hangover. I went to Vegas for the first time when I was 21. We stayed at Caesar's Palace, and all I could think of was The Hangover. All I could think of was like the clips that I've seen in person now that I saw in the movie. It's like The Hangover is one really good movie, but I mean, it's hard to pinpoint. It really is.
Okay, I know I said that was my last question, but you raised so many more, and I won't ask too many questions, but only two. Did you
Yeah,
go as a group? Like, was it you and a group of friends?
it was it was me, my dad, and one of my best friends that I played baseball with at Erskine.
That is
It was
phenomenal.
all of our it was all of our first times going to Vegas, and we all went together for the very first time, and it was an unreal experience. It was so much fun.
Okay, last question. Which of the three of you, when you guys were checking in, did the real Caesar actually live here? Like that joke from The Hangover. Did anyone do it, or were you guys just not on the radar? We aren't those people.
Nobody did it, but my dad. My dad definitely. We were in line waiting to check in. My dad just said he was just going on and on about the quotes from the movie because we all stayed. We stayed the night at my house in Charlotte, and we flew out of Charlotte, and my other friends from Charleston. So he drove up. You know, it's our first time going to Vegas. We were so excited. Our flight left at like 6 in the morning or 9 in the morning, so we had to get there a little early, and we were just so excited to go that we were playing fake blackjack, and we were just like doing just fun stuff. And obviously, we turned on The Hangover and we watched The Hangover the night before we went to Vegas. And so whenever we got to Caesars, all my dad was just ripping quotes from the movie left and right, and it was just so funny. But we never actually said it to the person
Okay.
that works the counter, go out there and say that. But he was definitely saying the quotes like left and right all 3 days we were there. And it was so funny.
God, well, you absolutely love to see it. Shout out to him for taking that role and taking it by storm from what it sounds like. But
Yeah.
Johnny, we've covered a lot. I've taken way too much of your time out of your busy schedule. I gotta say, thank you so much. I appreciate you for taking the time out to talk with us here at the Schoch Factor Podcast.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, man. I did a news interview the other day, and I said I was blessed to do that, and I'm blessed to do this. I never would have thought that I would be in this situation. I never would have thought I would get like this. And all I can say is I'm blessed, and I just appreciate you so much for even having me, reaching out to me. I've absolutely loved it, and if you ever want to talk again, you know, I'm all open to it.
Well, dude, more than happy to have you. We'll have to do it again. But honestly, thank you for making college baseball that much radder. Baseball barbecue started when a broken grill fork and a cracked bat came together to make the perfect grill tool. Now, Baseball Barbecue makes patented bat handle barbecue tools and cutting boards that are licensed for the best teams in college baseball. Fun and functional, Baseball Barbecue products are perfect for casual fans and serious grillers alike, and a great way to out-tailgate your rivals. Visit baseballbarbecue.com/D1Baseball to find the perfect grilling gift for the college baseball fan in your life. Thank you to our sponsors, and now we are back. And I just want to say, what an absolutely awesome story from Johnny. Just making it from the D3 ranks to the Division I level and playing some of the best baseball in the best conference against some of the best talent and having a ton of success. It's been really cool just to see him prove himself time and time again at the collegiate level. Just anywhere he goes, he absolutely shoves. But I think my favorite part is the fact that he never even meant to be a collegiate pitcher. You know, you spend so much time around the game, you meet all these different guys in college baseball who are like, yeah, I want to pitch. Like, I'm a pitcher. I've worked on this my whole life. This guy is like, look, I'm a catcher, but if you need me on the mound, I guess I can do it. And he does it, and he makes a career for himself, which is just so cool. I love the fact that the first at bat he had was against his roommate. I would have loved to been a fly on the wall, just hearing their conversations that evening, talking about it. Like, dude, I don't even pitch, and I got you. But baseball is just a hard game. Hitting it in general is hard, and then you get a guy on the mound like Johnny Hummel, that makes it even harder. Well, we thank Johnny for taking the time out of his busy schedule to join us. I know it's not easy being a master's student or a graduate student and getting the job done in the classroom and on the ball field. So thank you to Johnny. And of course, thank you as always for tuning into the Schoch Factor podcast on the D1 Baseball Network or on the SiriusXM Sports Podcast app, which it's a really cool way to tune in if you're doing it that way. If not, check it out because there's a ton of great apps on the platform or podcasts on the app and platform. And as always, thank you to our sponsors, Soldier Sports and Baseball Barbecue, for making this all possible. And thank you for tuning in to the Schoch Factor podcast. We'll talk to you later this week. Have a good one. Bye.